which is your strategic management. It is an indicator that relates to whether you've got a strategic plan in place, whether you've got APPs, you're doing your monitoring regularly, and you produce reports, which we normally do. I mean, it's what we're doing. Again, same process. The assessment is based on the standard which were applicable to the MPET system. We adopted that. We evaluated the department. The result came at a 4 because in terms of the standard and the conditions of what is supposed to be, the department has been fully compliant to that. So that indicator, again, it's a green because if I may pass that, going to indicator 1.3, which is human resources, where you're looking at the entire regime of your human resource management, whether you've that informs your corporate governance in place. The department has been assessed. The department identified 2 projects which were to inform the performance in this regard. Those 2 projects have been executed successfully. Closeout reports have been made available. Assessment have been done in those closeout reports. And therefore, because the target of 2 projects which were supposed to have been executed have been executed, the rating came at a 2, and therefore the targets have been achieved. That, Chairperson, closes Program 1. I'm not so sure whether I need to pause here so that there are questions to Program 1 or must I continue. But Program 1, all in all, the targets that were set for Program 1 have all been achieved. That program as a program has achieved, and therefore it has been assessed to be green because all targets which were set have been achieved. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I don't know, members, let me take a cue from you. You want to ask questions to the Program 1, or you want the department to continue with the presentation? Member Heron?
Chair, I'm happy to wait till the end.
Agreed.
Agreed to. Okay. Thank you. You can continue, Mr. Nkosi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much from the members again. In terms of Program 2, which is the planning, indicator 2.1, Chair, which relates to planned human settlement projects which are aligned to IDPs and based on the objectives of Outcome 8. In terms of Quarter 4, Chair, the department set itself a target of 6. 2 were done. Because in the prior quarters, Chair, you will see from the report that at Quarter 2, where there was a target of 4, 8 was done. So there was an earlier performance which affected the second quarter. All in all, the target which was set for 10 has been achieved, even though you might see an underperformance in Quarter 2, but it's because some work was done in the prior quarters. So in a nutshell, if you were to consider the contribution of Quarter 4 into the entire performance of that particular indicator, given the year under review, the targets have been achieved. Indicator 2.2, which is the indicator where we put together the multi-year housing development plan. What is required in terms of this particular indicator is to put together that particular plan indicating our planning in relation to housing. That indicator also comes once. It's a plan that you need to put together, and that indicator has been achieved because the plan is available and the plan has been interrogated, and some of the deliverables are also informed by that particular plan. So the target has been achieved. Indicator 2.3, Chair, which speaks to the support that the department gives to municipality, technical and otherwise. If you look at Quarter 4, the target was 7 municipalities which were planned to be assisted. Only 4 were planned to be assisted. Again, same reason like indicator 2.1. You will find that municipalities avail themselves for the purposes of capacity building in the earlier quarters. In this regard, in Q1, 6 was planned, 9 municipalities availed themselves or were being assisted. Q2, 6 municipalities were planned, but 8 had to avail themselves because of a number of reasons. Others will be challenges of time to say at the time when you said you will be able to assist them, they might not be available. They are available at that minute. And on assessment, we then get it. So if you were to look at contribution of Q4 in relation to the entire performance of the year, all 25 municipalities have been assisted in one way or another in terms of capacity building, in terms of technical support. So that indicator has also been achieved. Again, if you were to say what are the challenges in this regard, it will be the question that at the time when you're saying we'll assist municipality A, say maybe you say we're targeting June, and municipality A will tell you to say, can't you do it in October because that's the time we are available. Come June, we may not be available. So those varying times might also send a distorted picture if you look at that. But at the end of the day, those municipalities have been assisted. Indicator 2.4, Chair, which is research papers produced. The target has been achieved. The research papers have been produced. Evidence is available. We can make them available if needed. Similarly, Chair, indicator 2.5, which is number of policies and policy guidelines developed. The target was 1, and that has been achieved.
Mr. Ngosi, are you still there? Hello?
Hello?
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there, Chair.
Okay, you can continue.
I don't know where I lost you now because I've been speaking. But I was saying, if you're looking at the performance of Program 2, all targets have been achieved. And the assessment in terms of our monitoring protocols indicates as such. Evidence in relation to the targets is available. It can be made available if required, Chair. Thank you. Program 3, Chairperson. Indicator 3.1, which is number of subsidies dispersed. These are the subsidies that ranges, which are non-credit linked. In this regard, Q4, the target was 40. 94 has been the actual delivery. The contribution of Q4 into the entire financial year under consideration, Chair, is that the 130 target which was set has been over or has been exceeded because the department was able to disperse subsidies to an amount of 396. So the target has been achieved. Again, just to indicate that we're reporting on this target on quarterly basis, and we have been reporting as such. You will see from the performance window there that all during the quarters, all the targets have been exceeded. Yeah, that's 3.1. In terms of 3.2, Chair, which is FLISP subsidies, the performance of Q4 again, the target was set at 369 subsidies were dispersed. The contribution of Q4 into the financial year ensured that the 996 targets which was planned at the end of the day it's exceeded because the department was able to disperse 1,310 subsidies in this regard. Again, the target has been achieved. Indicator 3.3, which is an indicator that speaks to sites, the IRDP sites. Q4, Chair, the target was set at 1,420. The department produced 2,177. The contribution or the effects of Q4 into the entire year's performance, 4,420 was set as a target. 4,927 was achieved. So the department has performed and it has exceeded the targets that have been set. As indicated, when Minister was doing his opening remarks to the committee members, the challenges that we normally find in this regard will relate to your community dynamics. At some point, you'll find protests. At some point, you'll find people who, when they are supposed to be moved away from the path of construction, and there will be some resistance and all related matters. So in a way, it also derailed the progress, but in this regard, we have been able to achieve that. But those are problems that we encounter in the delivery process. Indicator 3.4, which relates to indicator 3.5, which relates to the upgrading of informal settlements, Chair. Again, sites.
That you jumped the 3.4.
Sorry, 3. My apologies. 3.4. It's units, Chair. Again, there's something that is not right here. Just give me a minute, Chair. Just give me a minute. The performance on 3.4, Chair, it's mixed. My apologies. 3.4, it's housing units, Chair. We'll have to give you the correct slide on that one. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute. 2.5. Something's not adding up, Chair. Can I come back to this slide? Let me go to 3.5, Chairperson. I'll correct that. 3.5 is upgrading of informal settlement, Chairperson. Q4, in terms of that particular slide, the targets of Q4 in terms of the upgrading of informal settlements, which are sites as well, it was 569. The department produced 875. You will realize that during the year, in the other quarters, there wasn't any movement there. There were no deliverables. The only deliverable is for Q4. Again, because of the reasons that one indicated earlier, which relates to community challenges. There were instances where people did not want to move, where construction had to take place. There were all sorts of issues which we had to navigate through, and that delayed the entire process. Chairperson, 3.6, which is number of housing units that would have reached a stage of practical completion as part of the PHP. Again, there, Chair, the targets need to be corrected on the slide that you have there. The targets, the planned targets are 500 across all the quarters, except for Q4, where it's 508. The slide has been sent through for these corrections. The department in this regard, against Q4, there was a performance of 299. If you look at the entire performance of the department, for the year, the target is supposed to be 2008. and the delivery in this regard has been 1,482. So the performance, it's partial performance, which is supposed to be amber. Like I indicated, the correct slide has been sent through when we have detected that the performance has been mixed up in here. Again, the reason which led to the partial performance in this regard relates to community dynamics, as I indicated, including procurement challenges which were experienced by the department. Indicator 3.7, Chairperson, which speaks to title deeds. The target for Q4 was 1,500. 2,357 title deeds were produced. All in all, for the year, the performance against the target of 7,000 stands at 8,491. That's a performance exceeding what has been targeted for. Again, here we're saying the processes of your title deeds restoration project are beginning to show positive results in assisting us to execute this particular task. Indicator 3.8, which is number of job opportunities facilitated by the end of the year. In Q2, the target was 200 and 110 was delivered, but the contribution of the quarter to the entire financial year, a target of 800 was set. The delivery, it stands at 1,042, which means we have exceeded our target. Even though you might see on Q4 the target being an underperformance. But again, it's because towards the end of the quarter, not everything was done given the situation that we find ourselves in. Chair, indicator 3.9, which speaks to the percentage of human settlement grants, the human settlement development grant paid to contractors with HDI representation. The target was set at 50%, and what has been delivered, or the assessment in terms of what we did during the year, stands at 66.64%. That means we have exceeded our target in this regard. Indicator 3.10, Chair, which speaks to amount paid to contractors with women representation. The target is at 30. We only achieved 13.75%. Again, issues being that despite all the efforts to encourage participation of women contractors into the industry, this is all what we could get. There hasn't been any contractor which is women-led which has been excluded. So what we see here as percentage is what we have in our books. Indicator 3.11, which speaks to amount paid, the HDI amount paid to contractors with youth representation. The target was 10. The achievement is 3.97%, almost 4%. Again, the issue is contractors with representation of young people were just few. They were just not there. So the target has not been achieved. In relation to indicator 3.12, number of young people trained. Again, Chair, our target was 150 for the year. 156 young people have been trained. The target for Q4 was 40 and 72 were trained. The 72 is because if you look at Q2, there was a shortfall. We had to get all the other young people to be part of the mainstream, and they were available around Q4. But all in all, 156 young people were trained. Indicator 3.13, which speaks to houses built using sustainable building technologies. For quarter 4, Chairperson, the target was at 250, 195 houses were done using SBT, but the contribution of that into the entire financial year, Chairperson, a target of 1,000 was set, we achieved 1,673. Chairperson, that closes program 4. If you were to look at this particular program, there's a mixed performance. Some targets achieved, some targets not achieved, particularly your sites where I indicated what were the issues, and the PHP instrument where I indicated what the issues were. Going to program 4, Chair, indicator 4.1, which is debtors whose outstanding balances have been reduced to nil. Quarter 4, a target of 170 was set. The achievement became a 1,741, again, because we had to rally around all the municipalities and do everything that we do and consolidated our efforts. So if you look at the contribution of this quarter into the entire year's performance, it against a target of 650, we have achieved 1,850. So the target has been achieved. Indicator 4.2, which speaks to title deeds, the pre-1994 title deeds, we had set ourselves a target of 110. We produced 301. So the target has been achieved. That's it, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Members, I don't know if HOD, do you want to come in and talk a little bit before the members start with the questions? Or we can go straight to the questions?
Chairperson, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Nkosi, for the presentation. We will now take questions through you, Chairperson.
Okay, I saw the hand of member Van der Westhuizen, and after it will be member Brett Heron, and after member America. In that order, over to you, members.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the officials present, colleagues. Chair, just 3 questions from my side. The first one, and having served also in the National Assembly and having been very critical of many of these indicators that we've been served with in the past, I was quite relieved to hear from Mr. Nkosi that the prescribed indicators from MPAT will now no longer be the one and all way in which departments will have to report, but hopefully in the future the focus will be less on compliance but more on actual performance, because I have in the past often found that these indicators would say 2 policies would be developed, but there's no indication of the quality of that policy, whether that policy has been accepted, whether that policy has been implemented, etc. So I do sincerely hope that in future we will see a greater focus on performance and quality. As far as some of the indicators specifically are concerned, I would like to go first to indicator 2.3, where you've said that you sometimes struggle with the availability of municipal officials to provide technical support to them. And my question is, would that problem be able to be resolved by better scheduling, by perhaps planning of diaries long in advance? We often find in our position that organizations such as the NCOP will, quickly ask of us to attend certain meetings, and then with the best planning that we could, we're not able to do that. So I'm just raising the issue that perhaps performance in that indicator could be improved. But then secondly, also, I think over the last few months, we've seen an absolute growth in remote support. And I was just wondering whether, if officials do not need to be physically present for that kind of support, whether alternate means of support wouldn't be able to give or be more beneficial and result in more officials benefiting from that support. And then my last one, Chair, is on indicator 312, the number of young people trained. I find that indicator to be extremely low, particularly if we take into account that there's this enormous unemployment crisis that we face in South Africa, particularly amongst young people. And secondly, my impression is that young people are strong, and there are just so many of them that are willing to work, and practical training through this department, I believe, could go a long way for young people, not only to be trained, but eventually to become part of the economy, whether it's the informal economy, because we all know that housing doesn't end with construction. There's a huge need for maintenance as well. And even once a project has been completed by this department, I believe well-trained young people could continue to benefit tremendously from that kind of training. So please, if you could comment on that target and the options to perhaps improve on that target in future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Hera.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the presentation. I have quite a few questions. Under Program 2, the indicator planned IDP, planned human settlement projects aligned to IDPs. I'm wanting to understand whether that means aligning housing projects to municipalities' IDPs, because the target number seems quite low given the number of municipalities. So that's my first question. Then with the indicator on research papers, which the target was met, what were those research papers? And I have a similar question for policies. There was one policy that was the target. What was the policy that was developed or approved or put in place? And then with regards to Program 3 and some of the numbers, 3.1 talked about 396 subsidies disbursed in the year. And I'm wondering, again, maybe I don't understand what the indicator means, but 396 subsidies seems to me to be very low. So maybe we can get an understanding of what subsidy that is, and how can the province only just disburse 396 for a whole year throughout the Western Cape. I have similar concerns about the target numbers being low for the RODP sites and the number of housing units delivered. Are we talking the number of B and G housing units delivered was 4,795 for the whole province for the year? Again, that seems quite low to me. Similarly, with the upgrade of informal settlements, we've got 2,006 sites delivered. I heard the challenge there about community resistance, but I think that the targets are low to start with. Then on the job creation, the provision of 200 jobs per quarter seems to be an arbitrary number to me. Surely the number of jobs should be linked to the number of housing projects that were meant to be delivered in the quarter, the number of PHP, the number of UISP projects. So to just have a round figure, 200 per quarter, seems arbitrary to me. So I'd like to understand how that target was developed, because it doesn't appear to be linked to the targets for housing, UISP, PHP, service sites, etc. Chairperson, I assume that you're going to deal with women and youth numbers, so I'm not going to go there now. And my final question is on the achievement of sustainable building technology, where the department overachieved. I'm just wondering if we're going to get the details on what constituted the sustainable building technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Heron. Member America?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, was largely covered by Honourable Heron with regard to 3.1, but allow me to say that basically, just holistically speaking, it appears that the department has done extremely well, but I'm a little concerned about some of the low targets, and I'm particularly like to expand on indicator 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. The question I'd like to get clarity on is that in terms of the actual delivery of the number of subsidies disbursed, far surpassed the planned targets for that for the particular quarter, and had it been budgeted for, and furthermore, if one look at the challenges that was listed, it would appear that there somehow seemed to be a contradiction in terms of you overachieve, but yet you state that not all applicants qualifies. I'm not quite sure about that particular sort of reference. Furthermore, the same would apply with regard to indicator 3.2, that seemingly contradictory challenge pose and overachievement of the target. As far as indicator 3.3 is concerned, is that maybe I don't know, that I must have missed it possibly, is that the dynamics within the community with regard to service delivery, and yet the figures presented, and I must have missed it, the targets were achieved. Those are the kind of contradictions. And then lastly, Chair, is indicator 4.1. 4.1, let me just get it quickly. Yeah. 4.1, if you look at the number of debtors whose outstanding balances have been reduced to nil, the number that was planned for the term was 170, and yet, we overachieve by an inordinate amount of write-offs that were effected. Had it been sort of budgeted for, and why the extraordinary overachievement with regard to that, and did we underplan, or I don't know. Thank you, Chair. That's all I'd like to ask.
Okay. Thank you, Member Smith. Welcome, and over to you. Member Smith?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Are you there?
I'm here, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. You can go on.
I'm fine, Chair. I'm covered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think from me, it will be if the department maybe can give us the design validation process, because I think we were still in the mindset of the MPET, and you have something that you have designed. it will be nice if you can forward the copy so that you can see how do you score yourself to be legends in different programs. And the second one, it will be I just want to understand your targets in capacity building. I think we have been, for a very long time, we have been talking about the capacity building in the municipalities for the housing projects. Now, with the target setting, how do you go about in breaking them down to the quarter 1, 2, 3, 4 versus the, what I can call the ecosystem of the housing projects? How do you align the two to set the targets in different municipalities? And how do you extend that to go into the IDP so that when the municipalities, they give the wish list of the housing projects, automatically they are capacitated to make sure that their housing projects are what is needed within their municipalities? And I'm saying this based on my understanding that the municipalities, as they bring their wish list of the housing projects, it talks to what is needed in different municipalities. I think for now, those two, if we can get the answer with the other members. Over to you. I don't know, HOD or Mr. Nkosi.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you very much to the members for the questions. I will redirect, and I didn't acknowledge all my colleagues in the meeting. We've got, if I can just go through it, we've got Ms. Rayana Tari, she's the Regional Director for the West Coast region. We've got Mr. Roy Stewart, he's the Director for Land and Asset Management. We've got Mr. Prishan Chandaka, he's the Regional Director for the Overberg and Cape Winelands region. And we've got Ms. Pamela Masiko Kambala, who is the Director for Policy and Research. So I'll also call on them to assist in responding to the question. So the first question I will respond to, it relates to...
We will appreciate really to see your face.
Sure, of course, thank you. There I am. The first question, Chairperson.
Sorry, we see your hairstyle. We are not seeing your face.
I can't, my device.
Okay, that's perfect.
Is that better? Okay, thank you. Chairperson, the first question is the setting up of meetings with municipalities and how we engage with them. And I think it also links to the last question that you asked about capacity building. So it is part of program 2, so it's part of the planning process. And there we have upfront engagements with the municipalities in 2 ways. Firstly, through the quarterly regional meetings, the technical meetings, and the meetings are attended by the municipalities in a specific district, so it's district forum meetings, and both our planning and our implementation team attend those meetings with the municipalities, the housing representatives or engineers or planners. So those are quarterly meeting engagements, but we also have specific planning engagements with the municipalities, and it's often a response to their request for intervention. But that's why when we do plan the quarterly engagements, it is a prior arrangement with them, but for some, whatever reason, and we can look specifically at each municipality and what the reasons are why we couldn't intervene there, or why we couldn't have those engagements. With regards to the number of policies and the research products, I can ask Pamela to respond to that, please, Chairperson, through you.
Go on.
Pamela.
Hi, did you say Camilla or Pamela?
Pamela, sorry, Pamela.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. The first research topic we did as a unit was exploratory in nature, looking into the feasibility of proactive support that could be given to backyard dwellings within the city of, looking at cases that have happened in the city of Cape Town and also in Joburg. But basically that paper looks at what the department could do in terms of when they are designing settlements in future that are departmental led. So some of the proposals that come from that paper is when we design, we start looking at the whole settlement design with the intention or with the understanding that there would be overcrowding in some of these areas, and therefore it's important to try to plan for services that would accommodate overcrowding in future. So it's the settlement design in the planning phase that looks at basically how to incorporate infrastructure capacity that will handle that. The second issue we propose in that paper is looking at where, in terms of how the actual site of a plot is orientated. So we've talked in the past of putting maybe services for backyarders at the back for an extra provision of a tap, in the way of helping people to what we call hide maybe backyarding infrastructure at the back instead of having people putting shacks in front, but you guide that by putting taps and maybe an extra provision for a toilet at the back. The other proposal, which we said we need to look at in future as the department, National Treasury at some point proposed that there would be a grant for services, for basic services that could be given to municipalities. So that is not finalized at the moment. So we said if it could be interesting to propose that that grant be extended to municipalities in order to support the provision of basic services for backyarders in households. And lastly, we also propose that municipalities, in terms of their own building approval processes, they could come up with standard operating procedures that make it easier and guide people who are interested in let's say, erecting a proper brick and mortar structure in their backyards for a backyard in a safer way and in a way that's guided by municipalities in a supportive manner than punitive manner. So that's basically that first paper, which was really exploratory in nature. And then the second paper we look at, this I've mentioned to the standing committee in the past, is on the deferred ownership. We had, because of the FLISP provisions that had been made, or changes that have been proposed by National in 2018, there was that mention that we need to look at providing FLISP to households without a mortgage option. So we looked at whether we could have deferred ownership, which includes rent-to-buy schemes and installment sales schemes to households who cannot afford to buy outright, as other people do on the market. So that's the second research paper that we looked at. It was quite an extensive one, about 130 pages, but the conclusion of that paper is that rent-to-buy model, which is where people rent, let's say, for 4 years at the beginning, hopefully in that 4 years they try to rehabilitate their debt in order to be able to buy from year 4, was very risky for the tenants in those properties, because evidence showed that some of these schemes could collapse at any time and people are left not protected. It's starting to look at possibly a leasing option as a viable one. So in this new year, basically, we're looking then at exploring what the lease option would look like for households who need to purchase their household using this mechanism. So those are the two research papers. In terms of the policy one was on the green procurement guidelines that have been developed by the department, which are meant to be workshopped with municipalities. Basically, in our own supply processes, we're embedding green procurement standards in terms of how companies will build houses in future. So they look at orientation, they looked at norms and standards for building. They also look at insulation and what the savings would be for households who get these houses that have been built in a manner that is sustainable for them. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson, if I add through you, There's also looking at some collaboration with other departments and private sector as well. For example, we did an assessment of fire safety for informal settlements. How can we improve fire safety within those informal dwellings? We also looked at transitional housing projects with the City of Cape Town and systems to support incremental housing on serviced sites, so where we provide service sites, how we can incrementally then build the top structures. We've also participated with Province on climate change workshops, and then there's a Better Living Challenge where we funded the provision of support and training to small-scale builders, especially those operational in informal settlements. So some of the innovation also then includes global positioning system. It's a GPS system and which feeds into data collation that we then add to our housing demand database information. We spoke about the green procurement. And then, of course, we do the policy and research unit is also responsible for just assessing the information from the different enumeration studies in informal settlements or in communities and just interpreting that information, which is then used as a planning tool for a community or assisting in our planning in a municipal area. And Chairperson, through you, if I may also then talk about the planned human settlement projects that Member Heron asked about, how we set the target. So the target of 10 may seem low, but those are projects that it's new projects that we're introducing in the business plan. So it's projects, new housing settlements. So yes, we may have over 200 projects underway at the moment, but we only introduce a few new ones because most of it is rolled over, or the implementation is spread across a few years. And then it has to be, the performance indicator is, it has to align with the municipality's IDPs. So it must be registered on the municipality's 5-year IDP plan. We do, however, also assist municipalities with other planning processes for new human settlement projects. And also we do the planning or through participatory planning with our NGOs, also look at planning in informal settlements that may not necessarily land on the municipality's IDP. So those targets we indicate are only those projects that's on the municipality's IDPs, but we do have more projects where we assist the municipalities with planning. Thank you. Then if I can continue, on the youth training, one of the, I think Mr. Brian Denton can talk to that as a representative of the Chief Director implementation, just how the targets are set, or maybe Frank can also assist with that, please, the CFO, with responding to.
Okay, good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, everyone. Regarding the target specifically here is for artisan training. So it's not youth in the broader spec. So it's artisan training, and the artisan training is directly linked to the budget that we receive from the SETAs. Hence, it's a set figure as based on the budget. So it should not be seen as the overall training of youth in general. Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Mr. Denton. Program 3 and Member Heron's question relating to, I think, 3.1, the RDP target, which seems low. Again, if Mr. Denton or one of the other regional directors can assist with the response to that. And then also Member America's question relating just to Program 3 and the targets achieved. And I think Benjamin still needed to clarify the number of units, which is the top structures, and the number of sites and our deliverables there for Q4 or the overall year delivery. So between Mr. Denton and Mr. Nkosi, can you respond to that, please? And then, Chairperson, the last question is on the outstanding debtors 4.1, and then I'll ask Mr. Francois de Wet to respond to that one. Thank you.
Chair, Brian Denton again. I'll just answer on the the individual non-credit and the FLISP. I think we have to not look at the target here. If the subsidy, the total subsidy for individual non-credit equates to 168,000. And if you do the calculation at 396, it equates to 66.5 million that was set aside and paid out under that program. And given our budget cuts last year and this year, that's the max we could actually set there. The other question was regarding the challenges. I think the challenges it could be revisited because it refers to qualification, but I think the challenge more here is the available stock, given the target that you're looking at. I mean, where do you find a house? It's difficult to find a house within a price of 168,000. So that could be an alternate, or should actually be more the primary target, although qualification is still an ongoing issue. With the FLISP units, excuse me, with FLISP we did 1,310 on an average of 50,000 Rand per subsidy, which equates to 65.5 million. So again, that is quite a substantial amount of money. Then I think again with the challenges there, it's credit worthiness. Although you look at one of the targets that everybody jump up when they see FLISP or FLISP projects as such is looking at the public sector. Unfortunately, like many of the persons earning with up to 22,000, the challenge is again with credit worthiness. Given that the target market or so 3501 up to 22,000, you need to build a structure nothing more than, I would say, between 300 and 400,000, which again is another challenge. So that would be the challenges. But as you can see, the amounts that we budget for these two programs is quite substantial. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, CFO.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honourable members.
I apologize, sorry, Chairperson. I see Mr. Prashant Chandakar's hand is up, and he's one of our regional directors. I apologize, Chairperson, if you can get a chance to respond to the item.
Thank you, HOD Chairperson, through you. Good morning, all. I just wanted to respond quickly to Member Heron's question, firstly around the ABTs and what projects are there. So in the Winelands and Overberg regions, one of the projects was the Doudsdorp Site F and H, which is a concrete frame structure, reinforced concrete, together with infill panels, which is put up quite quicker than the normal brick and mortar. That was around 570 top structures built. Then the same is used in McGregor in the Winelands in Langeberg, 469 structures built there. In Transhex, we are using the Maladi, which is molds, which are cast, which are erected off the site, and then which are constructed off the site and then installed on the site and filled with lightweight concrete. So even though those units will only be counted in this financial year, 2021, they are currently underway, and it does show a shift towards the increased use of ABT, because that was one of the ways that we made that project affordable to keep within the subsidy. So we are moving in that direction. That contract is 800 units, the first phase. Then with respect to the other question around the training of contractors, of emerging contractors, the capacity building section has held 2 dedicated sessions, one in Hermanus for the Overberg and one in Winelands. At first, it is difficult to get the emerging contractors to come through. It's a week-long course, and it covers everything from contract administration, how to tender, how to access finances. And we have to take into account the practicalities that if contractors want to attend, or even people getting into the contracting space, some of them need to leave their current projects and be away for a week, and that's a bit difficult. So the turnout was difficult, was a bit low at first, but they reheld the sessions, and the municipalities also played their part. So we're finding those to be very useful. It's then for those emerging contractors now to be able to tender for the new projects going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson, honourable members. Just on the indicator 4.1, right at the end of last year, we got approval from the National Department to utilise the transfer title deeds restoration grant for the EDBS as well, and that is to enhance the delivery of pre-94 title deeds. So specifically in the city of Cape Town, they brought in more than 1,000 new title deeds that they did through that specific program. They've got a dedicated team working there, and it did contribute to our over delivery on that specific indicator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. HOD, is that all?
Thank you, Chairperson. Then your question, design validation process and the scoring for Program 1. Can I ask Mr. Benjamin Corsi to respond to that, please?
Thank you, HOD. Thank you, Chairperson. The request was we make available the whole report. We will gladly make that available.
Okay, and the correction of the programs that their numbers were not, when are we going to get that? Didn't you get a time now while the other colleagues were giving the answer so that you can give us the right figures?
Chair, indicator 3.3, it's about sites, which is IRDP. The figures are correct as per the slide that has been distributed to the members. Indicator 3.4 is the housing units, which is IRDP. The first one is sites, the second one is units. The figures given there as per the slides are also correct. Indicator 3.5, it's sites which are UISP. The figures which are given in there are also correct, where I indicated the targets where there was no movement for the first 3 quarters and the last one where we had 875. So the information which the members are having on their slide is correct.
So if I can understand, the indicator for 3.4, if you look at the actual delivery on the pre-audit, it's planned 4,420, and then the actual delivery is 4,795. Then you say the Legion score is 73%.
No, we'll correct
that. Now I'm trying to understand. That is why I was saying that just correct so that we can have understanding to that. Can you talk to that?
Okay, let's correct that, Chair, then I'll give you the correct stories. But the targets as they stand, we just have to work on the legends and the percentage is correct.
Okay, the same applies with the 3.6 on the people's housing process. So there are some that I saw that your percentage with the achieved actual delivery, they don't go together, which I don't know how did it happen that way. But Member Smith, I saw your hand. Member Smith.
Chair, yes,
yeah.
Thank you. Just two general, perhaps, questions. The one is, I'm aware of at least 3 sites in the province where over 1,000 plots are, or the sites has been serviced, electricity is in, roads, everything is ready for it's only the top structures that needs to be constructed, and less than 30 million rand in total has been allocated for this financial year to those 3 sites. Now, it's 3 sites of almost 1,000 units that can be built there. And I want to understand from the department, what is the criteria for allocating funds to different sites, and how do you allocate less than 50 sites? How do you fund less than 50 units for a site that is ready for almost 300 units, and it's been ready for at least the last 2 years or so? I just wanted to understand that rationale. And then, Chair, the second question would be, is there any projects in the province that is being championed by the MEC? And if so, where are those projects being planned, and what is the progress on those projects? Thank you.
Okay. Just for clarity, you mean they're provincial projects, member?
Correct, Chair.
Okay, over to you, HOD.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think there's one outstanding question from member Heron that we didn't respond to in the first round. It was the number of jobs created, which seemed low. So between Mr. De Wet and Brian Denton, can we get a response to that, please? We target or identify job creation opportunities. And if I don't understand, maybe I didn't get the question right. Is it for the youth that's targeted, or women, or if member Heron can just maybe clarify the question again, please, through you, Chairperson.
Okay, I think that it was answered because the one official, I can't remember who responded by saying that is the artisans training. That is why the number is that low. But maybe member Heron, you can come in if maybe that was not enough for the response.
So thank you, Chair. And I was actually referring to indicator 3.8, which was about jobs created, which I understood to be jobs created through the projects. And my question was really twofold. First of all, that the target seemed arbitrary because it was simply 200 jobs per quarter, when I thought that the jobs creation should be linked to the housing, the actual project target, so the housing, the UISPs, etc. So the target was low, but more worryingly for me was that it was simply 200 per quarter, which seemed like an arbitrary way of working out what the targets are. Thanks.
HOD?
Thank you, Chairperson. So it does relate to partly the response on the youth that's trained and the jobs that's created through the HDIs and women contractors. But maybe Brian and Francois can respond to that, please.
Thank you, Chairperson and members. Those indicators directly linked to EPWP jobs that's been created. All our projects have EPWP conditions, and there's a specific formula that we utilize. So that's the reason why we've got a fixed number throughout the year as a plan, as based on the projects are being run right through, and we don't all the time have the EPWP figures because of all the municipalities that also deliver. So it does seem skewed to have a fixed number per month, but that is how construction work. We don't stop constructing; those people are all there. So it is linked to the EPWP.
Thank you very much. HOD, the provincial projects question from member Smith.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's not necessarily provincial projects, but the question was, are there projects that's been championed by Minister Simmers? And then there was also a previous question relating to 3 sites where in total of more than 1,000 plots or sites are serviced, and but the budget allocated for this year is low. I'm not sure if we should respond to that now or respond when we table our business plan for 2021. But largely, just in general, we look at project readiness. So obviously the budget has been cut. These we also were impacted by COVID-19 delays. And then when we look at budget allocation, we look at the state of readiness. So it may be that the sites are ready, but we also look at the what are the capacities at the municipality, the track record, the ability to spend. But in total or overall, we have to spread the butter quite thinly across different municipalities as well as different projects within the municipalities. So it is difficult to always just respond to the need out there, but we do prioritize and we do consult with the municipalities when we do the project selection and the budget allocation per municipality. Thank you. And then through you, Chairperson, the last question, if I may refer to the customers.
Okay, and I see Minister's hand up.
Okay, Chair, my hand is actually up. Just to expand on the answer from Member Heron on the EPWP plan and the arbitrary target, I think just to expand on what Fransha was indicating, Madam Chair, is that EPWP has a formula which actually determines the number of FTEs, which is the full-time employment equivalent, which I believe the 200, which is seemingly an arbitrary target, is actually a formula which is set by Transport and Public Works, which determines the number of FTE hours accumulated over a specific quarter. Then the projects in the province, which is being championed by myself as the Provincial Minister, or as the HOD rightly said, provincial projects, Madam Chair, we have 7 in total, which I chaired earlier in last year, which I've also reported to the Standing Committee. And I do believe that HOD can just delegate it to the relevant director, just indicate how far we are with the 7, because as the HOD has indicated, we are due to table later in July the adjustment budget vote for vote 8, which also incorporates that we've had to relook our own business plan as per the request of the National Department.
Thank you, Minister. You can go on, HOD.
Chairperson, I don't have the information with me on the state of readiness or the status of all the projects. And through you, can I ask permission that we table that list? And then also what the plans are on the budget allocation for 2021.
Okay, thank you. And there's another question that was not you. I think you said someone is going to answer. Okay.
I don't think I missed anything.
Okay. Members, are you going to take a second bite of the questions? Member Andrikas?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy.
Okay, Member Heron?
I'm happy, thank you.
Member America?
I'm good, Chair, thank you.
Member Smith?
I'm good, Chair, thank you.
Okay. From me, I just want to find out, HOD,
Why are you not calling out my name, Chair? Morning.
I was not aware that you have joined us. Good morning, Member Maran. Member Maran, you may ask a question.
No, Chair, I'm fine. I've joined late, so I'm fine. I'm fine. I try to catch up where we are now, but I'm fine so far.
Okay, in the meantime, you can breathe and think question while I ask my question. Thanks for joining us. HOD, I just want to find out the issue of the policy. I hear the draft of the rent to buy. I think we had a session that we talked about the issue of the rent to buy, and the department then said they don't see that being implemented because it has its own hiccups in that. In fact, the system of rehabilitating so that people can qualify is what is working. And then there was a communication of maybe another option can be the rent to own, which I thought it was something that the department is busy with it, because the difference of rent to buy and rent to own, it's a totally a little bit parallel to each other. But I didn't hear anything about the rent to own rather than the rent to buy. Number two is the private partnerships. I didn't hear any report on private partnerships. Are there any private partnerships with the department? And because I thought it was one of the key performance indicators to the department, since we knew last financial year that the budget cuts are going to be there. One of the systems that the department was saying that maybe it will sort of reduce the pressure, it will be the private partnerships in trying to implement some of the projects. Over to you, HOD.
Chairperson, thank you. We have a overall deferred ownership. So the policy that, or the research that Pamela was referring to is the deferred ownership, and it is broken down into installment sale and rent to own. So there's two components to it. But I think if I understand you correctly, Chairperson, you are referring to the voucher scheme. And part of it is the credit readiness program that we've introduced. Ms. Kamala August can talk to that, and between Kamala and Pamela, we can talk to the voucher system. So if I can allow Kamala to talk about the credit readiness program, please.
Good morning. Thank you, HOD. Okay, the Credit Readiness Program we ran as a pilot project over the last year or so. It is intended to help about 300 beneficiaries, and these beneficiaries are sourced through advertising at certain municipalities where we have projects going. So the intention is to link a beneficiary who is ready to a project that is ready, so that we lower the cost to that final beneficiary at the end of the day, because usually marketing costs are about, it can go up to 30,000 Rand onto a unit. So what we did is we ran the Credit Readiness Program in George, we've run it in Mossel Bay, or we're about to start in Mossel Bay. We've done some in Swellendam, we're doing some in Drakenstein, and one or two other municipalities. What it does is it takes beneficiaries that have either poor affordability or limited credit attractiveness, and we take them through a readiness program with a service provider, and then their scores improve. What we can see so far from beneficiaries that are coming through is that we see a 50% improvement in their credit scores. So 50% of the people we've put through the readiness program seem to be getting to a point where they can actually purchase that unit as we go forward. So in areas like George, we now have beneficiaries that on paper are ready. We have more beneficiaries ready for the units than we have units that have been built. And that is the intention of taking the credit readiness program. How the voucher will now link into it is that if we have a ready beneficiary where a unit isn't necessarily ready, the beneficiary can buy any unit. So we will hand the beneficiary a voucher that says you at this point would qualify for 50,000, 60,000 Rand. Go and find a unit, maintain your credit record within the next period of a year, and we almost guarantee you that that subsidy is waiting for you. So it's an incentive to keep your credit clear, to keep your affordability clear, and to go out and look for a particular unit in that area. So the intention is to begin to implement the voucher program. We're looking at probably doing it in the George area, given that the Serfontein units are almost ready for occupation. And then also allowing in other areas where the units haven't come on stream, but the readiness program or the beneficiary may be ready, the beneficiary can then purchase any unit. If Pam would like to add anything, Chairperson, she's most welcome to. Thank you.
No, thanks. I don't need to add anything, Camilla. Thanks, you've covered it.
Thank you, Chairperson. If I can just conclude, the credit readiness program, the deferred ownership approach is first in the country. There's no other province, Human Settlements Department that have spearheaded this. And the intention is to target the missing middle, so it's those people just above the 3,500 household income, but those who cannot access a bond or housing mortgage. So we're looking at interventions to assist them. And it also, because we found with our FLISP program, there are two reasons why people don't qualify for the FLISP. Firstly, their own credit worthiness, and the credit readiness program then seeks to improve their credit worthiness or their credit rating. And then the cost of the units. So we also then implement in our own projects units at the lower cost that is more affordable. And we also then pre-screen and do a pre-assessment of prospective beneficiaries. So then we design the units and lower the cost or keep the costs to a minimal so that those people can qualify or afford those units. And so we run the two programs parallel, the credit readiness program and the supply of FLISP units. So while we're getting people ready to afford those units, the FLISP units are then being developed over the year or two as part of a project. That's of our policy. And then maybe while we're on policy, there was a question on the quality. So when we develop a policy, we do have a reference group which consists of people also external to the department, and most often or always the tertiary institutions, and also experts in the policy and human settlements regime. So we also refer to them for quality control. And the deferred ownership one, for example, is a 130-page document, and that was edited by an external body and assessed by an external person to look at just checking the quality and the content. So all our policy and research, or policies specifically, go through that rigorous external assessment as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Maran?
Chair?
Do you have any question?
No, Chair, not this stage.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any member who has a question now. Going once, going twice. I think it's a wrap. I just want to thank the department and Minister. Do you have any last words?
Chairperson, I'll be very brief because your questions pertaining to the Quarter 4 report has been very insightful, but I think you would also have, if you listen to the last 10 minutes regarding where we are heading with the department, because if anything, what COVID-19 has shown to us, to me as a member of the executive, but also to you as legislators, that the time of thinking inside the box is gone. We now need to find solutions which seemingly we'll also need to find the answer to together, so that we can address within the human settlements family those needs in an effective and sustainable manner, but linked to a quantum or envelope of funding that is becoming less and less and less. And that is where we're heading towards the future. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I think I will thank the department, and Minister, thanks for being with us today, HOD and the department. And it's quite clear that we are going to have really a harsh time, or we are going to face harsh times in implementing the housing projects, which we always say that the policy that we have now is outdated. We need to do things quite differently going forward. And we would love to engage with the department as you move implementing those, coming up with those innovative ways of doing things differently. Please don't leave us behind, so that when we engage, we don't hear a new thing that you have implemented and then you report on it and we don't have a clue that there was something that you have, that you are trying and it's working good for the department. So keep us in a loop, even if it's a document that you have to send and telling us what is it that you are implementing. Try to carry us with you, because engagement is limited because of the pandemic we are facing. So you are welcome to leave, and again, thank you. And we will take it from the members, if we can stay, so that we can do the resolutions and address some in-house issues that we need to talk about. Thank you very much, HOD.
Thank you. Goodbye, Chairperson, members.
Okay, thank you. Members, we do have, let's start with the resolutions. Besides the design validation process that the department have mentioned, is there anything, members, that you feel we have to capture also? I'm going to start the same way. Member Andrikas?
No input from my side, Chair.
Okay. Member Herren?
Nothing from me, Chair.
Okay. Member Smith?
Nothing from me, Chair. Thank you.
Member America or
Nothing
member?
from me either, Chair.
Okay, Member Maran, you are also covered.
I'm covered, Chair. Nothing from my side.
Okay. Thank you very much, members. So we can somehow adopt on the screen. If you look at the screen, Shumis has put on our minutes there. Can we adopt, so that we don't have a meeting to adopt our committee minutes?
I propose that we adopt this.
Okay, thank you, Member Andrikas. Yes. Okay.
Was I present in this meeting, Chair?
You were present, Member Maran.
Is this the first or the second page?
The first page is the register, and let me see, Member Maran is there and Member Smith. Do you see your name?
No, I saw I can only see the second page on my screen.
Oh, okay. No, the first page, you are there.
Okay, there's the first page.
Yeah, you are there. So you agree with the adoption?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Thank you very much. Members, the past, I think you received the communication for the tribunal to attend, and the procedural officer didn't get the response from you. Shumis, if you can come in, did you get the dates that the department were proposing?
Ms. Maseko, I didn't receive it as yet from the department, but I can forward it today. I will follow up with him regarding that, because I need to update our committee program with that information.
Okay, thank you very much. So check your emails. You are going to receive the days that the department will propose for those who want to observe the rental tribunal sittings, so that we can achieve that in our tracking document, because it's one of the resolutions that we did put in. Are we in agreement to that, members?
Okay.
And,
sure.
okay.
Yes.
And the second one, it is we are going to send you the letter. There is an invitation from Minister. He has the ministerial oversight visit to the Overberg district from the 29th to the 31st of July. So if I can read the letter, it says, this communique serves to inform you of my planned visit to the local municipalities within the Overberg districts from the 29th to the 31st, in addition with his previous visit to the Garden Road. So, as an oversight body, he cordially invites us to accompany himself and the team to these engagements. With that said, I am cognizant of the current scourge of coronavirus, and therefore, where humanly possible, all engagements will be conducted within strict COVID-19 guidelines for large group gathering in confined spaces to minimize the exposure to the virus. His office is still finalizing the final details of the program at this stage. Below is the interim program. He is going to visit the Hessequa municipality on the 29th, and on the 30th, Swellendam and Cape Argalas municipality, and on the 31st, Overstrand and the Theewaterskloof. So I want to hear from the members if they are available to what should be our response. Are we accepting the invitation or not? And if each member can indicate their availability, I will appreciate that, so that Shumis can immediately respond to that for the logistic preparations. Member America?
Yeah, Chair, yeah, I'll be available on the 30th, Swellendam.
Okay. Member Herren?
Chair, I'll have to check my availability. Yeah, it looks like the 30th is fine.
So it's from the 29th until the 31st. So let's make it easier. Shumis will send the communication and check the dates that will be available, if all three, so that we can know and make the arrangements. Member Maran?
No, Chair, it's exactly what I wanted to propose.
Yeah.
Because it's only from the 29th and 31st. It's a week and a half away. Maybe during the coming week, or the moment, as soon as we receive the email from Shamis, maybe at that stage we would have checked our diaries and could then forward it to her the dates that we will be available.
Okay. So we will do that. Please respond to that as soon as you receive the email, so that we can attend to the logistics, because now we have a lot of paperwork that we do when we have to arrange for accommodation and everything that has to do with that oversight. The last one is we are in trouble, or I am in trouble with the issue of us having the meetings. So if we can check in our tracking document that Shumis shared in our last meeting, there are some meetings that we are not going to be able to go through with on the agendas. Because of limited dates that we have. Our committee is bi-weekly. Now, I was thinking that maybe if the members can agree, if we see, which is something that we'll communicate, if you agree that when we have a constituency week, can we utilize a day that will be available to deal with some of the issues that are outstanding? And if you are in agreement, we will send that communication to you for you to approve and see what is on the agenda that is urgent. And then we can utilize a day on that particular day. Are we in agreement, Chair? I want to hear your voices to that.
Chair?
Yeah, Member Maran?
I think we have done so yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it was local government or agriculture. I think it was local government.
Yeah.
I personally don't have a problem with it. And if other members agree to it, we must just check which date so that it don't clash with the date that we have agreed upon yesterday. I think the one of local government.
Okay. Other members? Member America?
I'm not sure I would agree with the Honorable Moran. It's just that the two procedural officers coordinate and synchronize the date that doesn't clash with each other.
Okay. And Member Heron?
I agree.
Okay. So that's perfect. Shumis, did I cover everything that we talked about?
No, Ms. Maseko, we still need to adopt the minutes, and whether members are okay with me putting that down as a recommendation that the committee resolve to utilize one day during the constituency period for committee work.
Okay, I think we will put that in our, we are not going to put it in the minutes because we need to get an agreement with the chief whip, with the programming authority, if it's fine, if we are allowed. Remember, it's something that is not standard. So the approval from the program authority also will be required before it goes. I just did the step one of the members. If they agree, then I can approach the chief whip to that effect.
Okay.
Okay. We approved the minutes. Why do you say we didn't approve the minutes?
No, that is just standard. I still need to get the approval. Nobody approved it yet. I
propose that we adopt it.
Yeah, Member Andrikas proposed and then was seconded by Member Maran. He just wanted to see his name on the first page and it was there, then he seconded that.
I agree with you, Chair. I because I was now thinking, because Sumis was busy typing in basically our decision to identify a date during the constituency period, and I thought for myself that it belongs there because this is minutes of a previous meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've seconded.
Okay, thank you very much. Is that all, Shumis?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, members, thank you very much. Be safe.
Thank you, Chair.
And check your emails. We'll do a lot of communication then. Shumis, thank you very much. You are still my...
Okay, Ms. Masek. I will speak to you during the course of today, where we will sort out the next agenda item for the committee program, and I will send through the invitation from the minister to all of the members and await the response by end of business today, I hope.
Okay, the 28th, I forgot the 28th, the members are gone, ne?
Oh yes, the 28th, our meeting has been moved
to 8
o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
okay.
But I will put that in the committee program.
Yeah, and please communicate with them on their WhatsApp group to remind them that it's going to start 8 o'clock.
Chair. Chair.
Member Maran?
Yes, but I think, Chair, also what we must consider when we look at dates and times for our meetings, we are in a period of load shedding. I'm not saying 8 o'clock is not fine, but 8 o'clock might not be fine for some of us, Chair. And I think what we should do, for instance, if we receive the dates and times of when load shedding will take place, is to also communicate it to either you or Sumis, so that we can see whether 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock will be fine for all members. Otherwise, some of us will not be able to log into those meetings.
Member Aran, I think it's a bit difficult, and it was I think I don't know with whom was I talking to, and saying that it's a bit difficult to shift because it becomes it's on the programming authority. Then immediately, if we have to shift, they have to go to the meeting and again agree to that. So it becomes another process of another meeting before this one can happen. To an extent of we needed to answer your question of if I can move where there's no load shedding, will my kilometers be paid? I think it will be paid.
That was my question yesterday,
yeah,
by the chair.
So I think it will be paid. You just put that, and then the reason why you traveled there. And
no, you can't say you think. You can't say you think. Because for instance, the nearest town for me to travel to get reception is 40 kilometers away. Here and there it's 80 in total. So we must be clear whether I can claim or not. Otherwise, I will just sit at
Yeah, I'm trying to say you can claim that amount. Like when you come to the committee moving from Ceres to come here, you can claim those kilometers. The same applies. You are going there to have the meeting because of it will be on your claim. Why were you traveling there? Like you write it, it will be paid. Shumis?
No, then it's
okay. You can talk.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Ceres is something else because it's my constituency. I don't have to. I can travel there. But in this case, it will be Worcester, which is not part of my constituency. But if you are saying I can claim, I don't have a problem with it then.
Yeah, you can claim. I can also write a supporting document to that effect because you have to be in the meeting and we cannot change all those times of the meetings, and load shedding is something that you don't have a control or I don't have a control on, but the meetings have to go on. We have to continue working under those difficult circumstances.
No, I'm fine, Chair. Thanks very much.
Okay. Shimis?
Yes, Kusaseko.
Is a rep. Johan, thank you very much. Shimis, still appreciate you. Candice, thanks for your support. And the meeting is adjourned officially.
Thank you very much.